ASREP roasting. So all you have to do is enter this command exactly, press enter, and there you have it. Thank you for watching the video and make sure to subscribe.
What do you mean by that?
I was kidding. So what is ASREP roasting? ASREP roasting is a technique where an attacker requests for a Kerberos authentication service reply for a user account which does not require the pre-authentication. The domain controller then returns data encrypted with the key derived from the user's password. The attacker can then try to crack that data offline to get the password of the user. So notice something important in this. The attacker does not need to know the password or does not need to log in or does not need administrator privileges. The attacker only needs to either know the username or guess the username, which do not have pre-authentication enabled. So the danger comes from the fact that the password guessing happens offline, and because there are no repeated failed logins, the account lockout won't be triggered. So before we talk about the attack, we need to know Kerberos. So Kerberos is Microsoft's primary authentication protocol in Active Directory. Its goals are to prove identity securely and not to send passwords over the network, and provide single sign-on, and also to use short-lived tickets instead of sending credentials over the network again and again. And before we continue further into the video, if you don't know about Kerberos authentication or the process of Kerberos, I recommend you to get to know about the Kerberos, how it works, etc. And I have a video on my channel explaining about the Kerberos authentication process, so you can also check that out. But make sure that you know about Kerberos before proceeding into the video. So here's the main part. What is pre-authentication and why does it have to be enabled, and why is it dangerous if it's disabled? So I hope you guys know what is Kerberos at this point and how it works, etc. So the client makes the request asking for a TGT, and this is known as ASREC or authentication service request. And then if pre-authentication is enabled, then the KDC will ask for the domain controller will ask for the client to prove who it is. Like it says to prove who you say you are. So then you have to enter the password, and only then, after you prove that you are who you say you are, you get back the ASREP or authentication service reply, which contains the TGT. So let's say the pre-authentication was disabled. What happens is client requests for the ASREC, and then the domain controller just directly sends you back the reply. That's it. Yeah, that is what happens. So that is why pre-authentication has to be enabled. And here, let's say I go to, yeah, this is for SQL service, and here if do not require Kerberos pre-authentication is ticked or enabled, what happens is pre-authentication is not required and I can just do the ASREP roasting and get the hash and then crack it offline to get the password. So this doesn't have to be checked. And one more thing, why is even this setting required in the first place? Historically, some legacy systems or interoperability scenarios needed it. But right now, in modern Active Directory, it is rarely required to be enabled. So, like enabling this option unnecessarily will only increase the risk. Now, coming to the attacking part, I'll be using Kali Linux. So, and also I'll be using Impacket's get np user. So now, this command format will be for getting the output in the Hashcat format, and the users.txt file. This contains the one second. Yeah, this contains a few usernames. That's it, nothing else. and then yeah, there'll be DCIP and the domain name. That's it. So now, as you can see, the SVC SQL had pre-authentication disabled and we got back this hash. So in this you can see KRB5 ASREP and 23 is going to be representing the RC4 encryption type, which is very easier compared to AES encryption types to decrypt. And you can also watch my Kerberos thing video where I have explained about the encryption types and how I use hashcats and the modes which we'll be using based on the encryption types. So now I'll be copying this hash to crack it in hashcat. So now hashcat -m for the mode, 18,200 for ASREP E type 23, and then hash.txt which contains a hash, and pass.txt is going to be the password file which contains a lot of passwords. So now after I do this, as you can see, hashcat has cracked this hash and this is the password for the SVC SQL account. So why is offline cracking dangerous? Let's say you try online cracking and no, sorry, not online cracking. What I mean to say is, let's say you try to guess passwords online. I mean, like you try to log into the account again and again. So what might happen is logs are created, and if you keep on trying again and again, let's say there were only limited number of tries, then account might lock out and this leads to detection. So what happens in offline cracking is you just request for the ASREP once and then that's it, nothing else. You get the hash and then try cracking it offline. So how can this attack be mitigated? Make sure that the Kerberos pre-authentication is enabled and also use very strong and unique passwords because of which the cracking offline of the passwords become impractical. And also make sure to regularly audit the accounts which have pre-authentication disabled, and also monitor for unusual volumes of ASREC, and keep in mind that even single ASREC is also a part of normal Kerberos authentication process. So that was it for today's video, and if you find this helpful, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment and ask for any questions. Thank you.